Hello and welcome to Chapatti's Kids Snack Corner. I am your host Chapatti, and we have a wonderful guest here today, Jeffrey Smith, a leading expert on GMO who's written some best-selling books, Seeds of Deception and Genetic Roulette. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you very much.
Very nice to have you.
Thank you.
The kids, this is your show. Do you have any questions for Jeffrey about food?
Yes.
What is GMO?
All right, GMO is genetically modified organisms, and that's where you take a gene from one species, like you can take it from a human or an animal, and you put it into another species, like a plant or an animal or whatnot. And if we're talking about genetically modified foods, then the foods are like soy and corn and things like that, and they're either genetically engineered so that they don't die when sprayed with an herbicide, or they're designed to produce their own poison that kills insects. Yes?
And how can you tell when GMOs are inside foods that you buy?
Well, unfortunately, the government in the United States does not require foods to be labeled if they're genetically engineered. There is labeling requirements in Europe and Australia, New Zealand, Russia, China, Japan, but not in the United States. So there's 4 tips you can take. And the tips are also in our shopping guide, which makes it easier. So 1, you can buy products that are organic. And if they say organic, they're not allowed to use GMOs. The other is to buy products that say non-GMO on the label. And you want to look ideally for a non-GMO project verified label, which is a third-party verified standard. The other one is to actually read the at-risk ingredients that are listed in the back of the shopping guide, which are all the derivatives. And then the last is just to buy the products that are listed in the guide, which tell you which is genetically engineered and which aren't. So any questions from this side?
I think this is a good thing to have. I looked at the guide when I took it home after I saw Jeffrey speak. This guide is excellent, and I think everyone should get to these guides. You can get it free on the internet, yes?
You can go to non-GMOshoppingguide.com. It's all there.
Yes.
You can find which products are non-GMO. You can download the guide for free or order pocket guides for yourself.
Excellent information.
Yes.
Why is it important not to eat GMO food?
Excellent question. In fact, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine, which is a doctor's group, said that every doctor should tell everyone in America not to eat GMOs. Because they say the animal feeding studies have linked GMOs to reproductive problems, to accelerated aging, so you might age quicker, to immune system problems that might cause allergies or asthma or other things like that, organ damage, digestive problems. In fact, I was visiting some doctors recently, and they tell every single patient that they see, avoid GMOs. It's one of the most important recommendations that they can make.
Now, I know the thing, yes, I was going to ask.
Yeah, what's the cost difference between GMOs and non-GMOs?
Well, you can buy the seeds that are genetically modified as a farmer and actually have to pay more. But unfortunately, when the GMOs were introduced, they took over the supply chain. So if you just go into a normal grain elevator and you say, you grab some corn, it's going to be a mixture of GM and non-GM. If you want to sell non-GM corn, you have to pay to protect your corn, to segregate it carefully, to ship it independently. And so that may put on a little bit of extra cost. And that's only because they kind of forced it into the market.
I tell you what, we're going to take a break, and then we'll come back with your question, okay? But stay with us. I'm your host, Chapatti. We'll be right back. This is Chapatti's Kids Snack Corner. Hello, and welcome back to Chapatti's Kids Snack Corner. I'm your host, Chapatti, with our wonderful guest, Jeffrey Smith, expert knowledge about GMO foods, and our wonderful children here will gather to help us bring out knowledge about food and diet. Did you have a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Why is it that my brother doesn't have asthma in Massachusetts and he has asthma in Iowa? My mom says it's because the corn is GMO.
It's a very good question. Some people believe that eating the corn or being exposed to it might elicit an immune response. In fact, they also do this with cotton, and people in India who are picking the cotton that's genetically engineered to produce the same toxin, they're getting allergic reactions and rashes on their skin and stuff. So even though I think personally it's probably more dangerous to be breathing the pollen and eating the food from genetically modified corn? I can't tell you for sure that it's definitely a problem to be living in Iowa surrounded by genetically modified corn, because there's no studies. I can just tell you that the studies that have been done suggest strongly that there's a relationship. Now that still doesn't tell me about your brother, because your brother might be having completely different cause.
That brings up my question. Your brother and all children, they're probably more prone or more susceptible to allergies than older people.
Yeah, kids are like 3 to 5 times more likely to develop allergies than adults, especially kids below 2 years of age. And so if GMOs cause allergic reactions, and many people think that they're responsible, in fact, for the increase in food allergies among kids big time in the last 15 years, then kids were going to be more susceptible. And now, another thing with kids, how many people drink milk? You drink milk?
This is my next question.
Okay.
It's very important because milk is so important in the diet for children.
Well, there's a certain type of milk that I recommend to avoid, and that's milk from cows injected with bovine growth hormone. And that changes the structure of the milk in certain ways. And so ask your mom, or if you go shopping, look for it where it says made without genetically engineered bovine growth hormone. It might also say RBST. It might also say RBGH.
Very important for mothers and fathers to buy organic dairy.
Organic will avoid the RBGH.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I think that is the most important. You go into a market and people see it's on the shelf, boom, they put it in the car, and that is it. But they don't know what the after effect is until they get home, and the kids have allergies and they get sick, and all these things that develop all because of the food.
So I'll give everyone a non-GMO shopping guide, so it makes it easier, and you can give one to your mom, or go on the website and read it. It also lists which products are free from this bovine growth hormone in the dairy products that you're eating.
And I think children also have some danger about antibiotic-resistant diseases.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to take a break and go into the kitchen, to make some good food.
Sounds good.
I am your host, Chapatti. Stay with us. We'll be in the kitchen soon with our wonderful guest, Jeffrey Smith, and our wonderful children here. I am your host, Chapatti. We'll see you in just a minute. This is Chapatti's Kids Snack Corner. Stay tuned. Hello, and welcome back to Chapatti's Kids Snack Corner. We're here in the kitchen with Jeffrey Smith, our wonderful expert on GMO, and our wonderful guest here, Diana, and the lovely children. So, Diana, we have all these beautiful fruits here. What would be good to make?
Well, I think that the best way to avoid GMOs in your food is to use fresh fruit. Are there any fruits that are genetically modified, Jeffrey?
Yes, there's one that's on the market, and that's papaya. It's only the papaya grown in Hawaii. So if you don't know where it's grown from, it's a gamble. There's no other fruit on the market that's genetically engineered.
So the kids are going to make a shish kebab with the fruit. And Jaron is going to chop the cantaloupe, and Katie's preparing the strawberries. And the children will skewer them, and then we'll make a nice dip to go along with. And that's a fun snack that's easy to prepare. The kids can do it, and it's a lot of fun. So they're going to prepare the cantaloupe and the strawberries, and these kids are going to start making the shish kebabs as soon as they're ready.
Now, while you're skewering, do you have any questions about genetically modified foods?
Katie, you have something?
I have a question. How many people are aware about GMOs?
Well, most people are not aware. If you ask the average American, have you ever eaten a genetically modified food in your entire life? 60% say no, 15% say I don't know, and almost everyone eats genetically modified foods every day. So people are pretty much uninformed. Anyone else?
When did we first start seeing GMOs on the market?
Came in 1996, the big rush with genetically modified soybeans and corn. And there is genetically modified bovine growth hormone, which was put on the market also in 1994. You have a question?
Lulu?
Yeah, I was wondering if salted popcorn is okay to eat.
Great question. You know, the good news is that popcorn is not genetically engineered. The other types of corns are, but popcorn is not. And popcorn doesn't even cross-pollinate with regular corn, so it's really safe. But the other corns that you have, 85% of corn in the United States is genetically engineered. Okay, what's the next question? You have a question?
Is corn good for you?
Is corn good for you? Now, from the research that I've looked at, and many doctors and scientists around the world, they say that those varieties of corn are not safe.
So children, you can go ahead and start making your shish kebabs.
Bodhi, did you have a question?
Yeah.
What is it?
What is the most common food with GMOs?
Okay, well, soy and corn are very common because they're derivatives, like the soy oil and the soy flour and the soy lecithin and the corn syrup and all that. They're found in so many processed foods. You know what I mean by processed foods?
Yeah.
Foods that come in boxes or cans, not the whole fresh foods that we're looking at now. Any more questions?
Yeah.
You had something, Jared? Some more?
So, what kind of percentage of foods are genetically modified these days?
Well, I think about 70% of all the foods in the supermarket. And that's primarily because of the processed foods and the little derivatives, the small amounts of GM ingredients. Any more questions? Katie?
If it says natural on the label, does that mean that it doesn't contain GMOs?
Good question. Actually, natural does not mean organic. Natural is more of a marketing term that can mean anything the companies want it to mean. So if they define what natural means and then they put 100% natural, you can look 100% natural and see corn products that are genetically engineered. So don't be fooled by the word natural. Look for the word organic, and that will tell you that there's no GMOs.
Very important.
We're going to make a dip out of sour cream.
Yes?
Dairy. I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay.
So, sour cream. Now, sour cream, any dairy product has the capacity to be made from animals that have been fed GMOs, genetically modified corn or soy. But it says organic on there, and so that means the animals are specifically not allowed to be eating genetically modified products.
We also added a little bit of honey to make it sweet. Is there any problem with honey?
Yes.
Well, it's kind of an obscure question because, in fact, there is. The honey that's grown in Canada has been banned in Europe, much of it, because it's next to canola fields, and the bees can gather the canola pollen and then make the honey, and it can be contaminated.
Well, we have several of these skewers here.
I'm going to pass this over there because I'm not near the other stuff. You going to take over for me?
Should we break in and have a taste, a flavor?
So you can take your shish kebab and dip it in the sauce.
Ooh.
And then eat it.
Or drop it on the floor.
Hold it up, Benji, when you...
Yeah, put it on the top there.
The other thing you
Put
can
some
do
on your
is
finger.
take a spoonful and slide it across your shish kebab.
Thank you.
Oh, man, that's my...
Got it. Whoops.
How about you, Chapatti? Would you like
You
to
guys should
try?
have one? A flavor?
Yes, pick a beautiful shish
They all
kebab.
look very good. You right?
Very well prepared, all of you. You did a delicious job.
Very
And
good.
beautiful, too.
I think I have to make it.
You like it, Sharon?
What's not to like?
You gonna like it, Jaden? Lulu? It's good? Oh, so everyone had a good time, good flavor, yes? Okay. I am Chapatti. Chapatti's Kid Snack Corner. We'll be right back with another wonderful dish. Stay with us. Hello, welcome back to Chapatti's Kid Snack Corner. And we're here making some special foods, non-GMO foods. And I tell you, Diane, we have some very good things here again. What can you show us?
We are going to be making bliss balls.
Ooh.
And bliss balls are wonderful because they're very nutritious snack. They're easy to make. The kids have fun making them, and there are lots of variations that you can do with them. Basically, it's honey, almond butter, oats, powdered milk, and then you can roll them into balls you can do toppings. We have cocoa powder, coconut, and you can add chopped raisins or nuts.
What's our first thing we start with?
So the first thing we're going to do is put the honey in the bowl.
Sticky.
It's
Sticky honey.
sticky, gooey.
Gooey.
And really the best way to mix this is with hands. So we'll get to have lots of sticky, gooey hands.
So do we use any type of honey here?
Well, again, if the honey, is grown near canola or corn, but it's hard to tell, so most people don't worry about it. But honey is a potential source of GM contamination from the pollen. Now, we have the powdered milk, and that is organic, and so it does not come from cows that have been injected with genetically modified drugs or that have been fed genetically modified feed. The oats are non-GMO. The only grains and beans and whatnot that are GMO, as we said, are soy and corn. And then there's canola. And the raisins are fine, the coconut's fine, the cocoa's fine. So it all looks good, especially because it's organic. Sometimes they'll throw in little tiny ingredients, enzymes and things which are hard to find and sometimes not even on the label. So, it's hard to deal with those, unless of course you buy organic. It's not allowed.
1 cup honey,
And then
1 cup almond butter, 2 cups of oats,
yes.
and Jaden, can you pour that in? And 2 cups of powdered milk.
Oh.
And then you have to mix it. So we can try mixing it this way, but that will take forever. So Jaron is going to take his clean hands and squish it up until it's well mixed.
Can you use a type of a
You could use a mixer.
mixer or
A mixer would
blender
work.
of some type?
A
Yes.
mixer.
Mixer.
A mixer would work, but this is fun. It's fun to get gushy
It's
and messy.
gooey.
Any questions about genetically modified?
Jeffrey, is there a way to stop the perpetuation of genetically modified foods since so many people seem to not want them in their food?
So we have a campaign for healthier eating in America, which is designed to create what I call a tipping point. A tipping point of consumer rejection against GMOs. That means that when a small percentage of people, maybe even 1 out of every 20 people, say, I don't want to eat genetically modified foods in my diet, then the food companies will say, well, we're losing all these customers, so we should switch to non-genetically modified. When I say 1 in 20, that's 5%. Just 1 in 20 in the United States is 15 million people. So if you're selling products and 15 million people say, I don't want it because you're using one little ingredient that contains genetically modified corn derivative, what do you think the company's going to do?
Stop putting that in.
Exactly. And they can just shift it to a non-genetically modified ingredient. So if we decide that we don't want genetically modified ingredients, and we start choosing non-GMO, non-genetically modified organisms, then we can change the way what is served in our foods.
Anyone have any more questions for our expert here? Yes, Lulu.
I was wondering if it's okay to eat sweets.
Well, there are different things that sweeten products. If it says sugar and it doesn't say pure cane sugar, then it probably uses sugar from sugar beets as well. And the sugar beets in the United States are genetically engineered. Then if it is sweetened with corn syrup or corn sweeteners, then the corns are genetically engineered. And so you have to look carefully. So buying organic, or as we're doing here, making from scratch, is your best way to go.
And read the labels.
Read the labels.
Well, I think that's good. Diana, should we have a snack bite before we
I
go?
think Benji needs to have the first bite.
Okay. Benji, have a bite.
So we've been rolling them in either cocoa or
The whole thing in the mouth.
In one time.
cocoa or coconut, or you can also just take the ball and take a handful of raisins and stick them in there and mush it up a bit.
Are there any more questions?
I had a question. Is dairy good for you?
Is dairy good for you? There's a lot of people that have different opinions about dairy. But what I would say is, if you're going to eat dairy, make sure it's non-GMO, not genetically modified, not a genetically modified organism. So no nothing from cows that have been injected with bovine growth hormone. And there's a lot of schools that are getting rid of that. And also try and buy organic, because then the cows are raised without genetically modified feed.
Yes, I think there's something we can do if the parents could write to schools or something.
Oh yeah, we have a video on our site at healthiereating.org, Healthier Eating, and it's called Hidden Dangers in Kids' Meals. And it describes what's wrong with GMOs, and you could show that to parents in the school and to the school themselves, and then that will generate a lot of interest in replacing the genetically modified ingredients. And schools around the world have gotten rid of GMOs because, of course, kids are more susceptible to the problems related to GM foods.
Lulu, I remember you said a question before about when you're in the airport. What is it?
Yes, when you're in the airport, what do you do since they only sell like non-organic?
First of all, if I go to a fast food restaurant, most stuff is processed with lots and lots of ingredients, and it'll be very, very difficult to avoid genetically modified ingredients. So I buy food from places that cook from scratch, but there's certain invisible ingredients that may still be in the food. Can you think of an invisible ingredient that you can't see, but it might be genetically engineered? Anyone?
Oil?
Oil. Excellent. Oil can be used when? In cooking and also in salad dressing. So I go to a restaurant and I say, do you use vegetable oil? If they say yes, I know it's probably soybean oil. And I say, do you have anything that's not cooked in oil, or can you use pure olive oil or butter to cook what I'm eating? And that way I get to figure out what I can eat, and sometimes I have to make substitutions.
Very good. Well, children, we want to thank you again, and wonderful Jeffrey Smith, our expert on GMO foods. I am your host, Chapatti. Remember to eat healthy, eat organic, and eat foods that are non-GMO. I am your host, Chapatti. Thank you for watching Chapatti's Kids Snack Corner. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds.